So George S. from Chicago writes, how do I figure out which verb to use in a sentence like, this is one of those situations that drive or drives me crazy? George, you have asked a marvelous question. In fact, let me see if I can get this one onto the screen because I want everybody to be able to see it. This is a question that has to do, interestingly enough, with prepositions. And I think that since this may be our last question, this seems quite fitting since we were discussing prepositions today. Let's get my screen up one last time. Okay. So, oops, that's not the question I wanted. Let me see if I can get this question again. This is one of those situations that drives me crazy. I'll just write it. Okay. This is one of those situations that drive Okay, so here's our sentence. This is one of those situations that drives or drive me crazy. Now, one of the reasons this is such a wonderful question, George, is because this is the kind of situation that standardized test makers love to put on their standardized tests. Because if you look at this, you'll see that the word closest to drive or drives or drive is situations. It's thus very easy to think, oh, here we have situations. Situations is plural, therefore I should use the plural form of the verb drive. Situations drive me crazy. In fact, situations that drive me crazy sounds right, except we have something here. We have a preposition. And this is a useful kind of prepositions to point out because we don't normally think of it as a preposition. And that's the word of. Of is a preposition. It shows a kind of relationship. It's not as cut and dried as far as location as a word such as on or above or below, which is why I think it's very helpful to point it out. And this of is the first word in a prepositional phrase. The whole prepositional phrase is of those situations. This whole prepositional phrase is describing the, in this case, pronoun one. This is one what? One of those situations. Here we have actually an adjective phrase. That's terminology you don't need to worry about just yet. I just mentioned it so I can plant a seed. This is one of those situations that drives or drive me crazy. So what we actually have here is the subject of the sentence is not situations. The subject of the sentence is, let's see if we have another interesting shape. One, or actually, the subject of the sentence is this. This is one. That's the sort of the kernel of the sentence. This is one. And this one goes along with drive or drives. One that. And because it's one is singular, we have one that, one that drives me crazy. This is one that drives me crazy. That's sort of, we take the prepositional phrase out of the sentence. Then we have, this is one that drives me crazy. We know that drive is not our answer. And this is often, like I said, a trick that, or it's not necessarily a trick, but an oddity of the English language that standardized test makers use to trick unsuspecting students who will look at the object of the prepositional phrase rather than what the prepositional phrase is modifying. This may start to be seeming a little bit confusing. So let me back up and say, the key in a situation like this is to be absolutely sure that you know what your verb, what noun your verb is corresponding with. In this case, the noun is corresponding with one is singular, so you use the singular form of the verb, drives, one drives. And we are often confused because prepositional phrases can be inserted in between that noun and the verb, and those prepositional phrases may have plurals in them, even though the noun that we're connecting the verb to is singular. So that is an attempt to answer a wonderful question from George.